Hey, what is going on, peeps? And today, I'm giving you guys my 5 keys for what the Detroit Lions need to do to win the NFC North. Everyone's got their own ways in doing it, but I got 5 steps that the Lions need to follow and at least try to fulfill in order to do so, because it's never going to come easy, and there's a lot the Lions can do to improve and, put their game plan together and really make a run at this. I think 100% they have a really good shot at doing this year. I just think this year's different. It feels different, and I like the way it's going. But I've rambled on long enough. Hopefully you guys checked out the hype video before I dropped this one. If not, go check that out before or after you watch this. But let's hop right into it, boys.
Are you ready?
All right, so we're starting out with a generic answer, and the first thing they need to deal with is health. Obviously, you can't win when all your players are hurt, and that I feel like was part of why the Lions did so bad last year. Besides the coaching change and the scheme changes, is a lot of players were hurt. Like Darius Slay felt like, to me, every game he went down for a little bit, missed a few plays. It happens. Stafford was banged up a lot last season. Obviously, you can't win hurt, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, but you kind of gotta hope that it's going to change. The injury guys were not really on your side. This hurt you a little bit last year. I don't feel like we have too many injury prone players. Hopefully Kerryon Johnson can stay healthy, because he is going to be a big part in the Lions contributing and winning the NFC North. So there's not too much to be said about this one, but it is part of the 5 steps into winning the NFC North. So let's go on to the next one. So step 2 is to 100% buy into the system. There was a bunch of rumors last season that the players weren't on the same page as Patricia, or didn't buy him, or didn't want him there. And, some of that may have been true, but I feel like a lot of it was stretched out through the media. Because the Lions are an easy target to attack, because they've never won. They haven't won anything since the 50s. So, it's safe to say, in their opinion, that they can just bash this team because it's been so bad. Well, regardless if that's true or not, the players that are here have to buy in. If they're not going to buy in, you have to get them out of here. Because this is a team that is not going to be built around one person. Okay, now even if we're doing the Patriots way, the Patriots aren't built around one person, especially defensively. Defensively, they have to play as a team. They have to stick to assignments. They can't just have the one guy who plays linebacker. I'm not going in any great detail. I'm not naming out the Patriots, but I'm just saying they don't have just one guy to emulate. Now, offensively, they do play around Tom Brady, which you can do the same thing with Matthew Stafford. But the rest of the guys have to buy in. Defensively, you have a defensive coach. The defensive players have to buy in. So now, if they do that, if they're all on the same page from top to bottom, from Martha Ford to the water boy, if they're all on the same page and they all buy in, this team is going to skyrocket. I mean, there is no limit. I mean, this is probably the most talent offensively and defensively that the Lions have had at the same time in a very, very long time. Maybe ever. I might go as far as to say it as ever. So if they buy in, watch out. So this is kind of, the next 3 ones are kind of similar. But the next one is protecting Stafford. And that can go under injury or buying in or whatever you want to put it. But if you cannot protect this guy, they are going to stack the box and shut Kerryon down. You're going to have to protect Stafford all 16 games. Now, he is going to get sacked as part of the NFL. Is going to happen. But the amount of pressure that was put on him the last 3 to 4 seasons has been crazy. I don't know how he is still walking. Protecting Stafford is very key, because it's going to open up our entire offensive playbook, and you got to keep him guessing. And that's going to be a big part. I think we're going to be very run heavy, And, I think that's going to open up a lot of play action. And that's what Stafford's good at, is play action passes, just throwing it 40, 50, sometimes even 60 yards in the air, just down the field. That is what he is good at. He threw for 5,000 yards doing that. He is a gunslinger. He's not Drew Brees. He's not the short, accurate thrower. He actually struggles in that situation. He is just a gunslinger. You got to play to his strength. You can't make him something else. And, he can buy time out of the pocket, but he's 30. He's 30-something. All that athleticism and that ability to escape the pocket is not going to stay there forever. And I think we've done a good job assembling this offensive line. The tight ends that we have picked up, and, the running backs are all going to take pressure off of this. We are going to keep teams guessing. I don't know if it's going to be like a 50-50 run, pass kind of an offense, but it's going to open up a lot, and, it starts with protecting Stafford. So let's continue this under a different topic. So for the Lions to be good, I believe they have to have a top 10, maybe top 15 offense. The talent is there. You have a lot of hype around TJ and Jesse James at the tight end. Both those guys can catch. You have Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones as your main two receivers. And then you pick up Danny Amendola and Curse for 3 to 4 options. Very solid. All our receiving cores it's a little bit weird. We might not be the most talented. Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones are super athletic. But for the most of the rest of the guys, they're not very super freakish athletic. But the thing that makes them so unique is you give the ball to them, they're going to catch it. They're not going to drop it, which I feel like that's been a problem for the Lions for years. Outside of Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and Nate Burleson, I think the receiving corps has struggled dropping wide open passes. Ebron and Brandon Pettigrew come to mind thinking about that. Pettigrew usually catches the ball, but he usually fumbled it. So I just like the core that we got. They're not going to blow you away with flashy plays all the games. They're going to have it. Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay are going to have some stud plays because those guys are absolutely stud certified. But they're not going to do it every time. They might have one cool catch a game, but I don't know. For the tight ends, they're not going to blow you away, but they are going to catch the ball. And that is important because I feel that hurts us in third down situations. Now, third down situations, speaking of that, should be shorter situations. I feel like we had a lot of third and longs last year, and that's going to help us. I guess I shouldn't say help us, but it's going to change with the run game. I feel C.J. Anderson has a lot to prove people. I think he's going to be a legit secondary backup. Short down situations, just running it up the gut. He says he's going to get in shape. I haven't seen him lately, so I don't know how he's looking right now. But he sounds motivated from all the interviews that I heard him on the radio. I haven't seen the dude, so I don't know what shape he's in right now. But obviously, like I said earlier, Carry-On is going to be the big X factor for us. The tight ends are going to block like crazy. I mean, look up TJ pancaking people. It's crazy. Jesse James is a great run blocker. All offensive linemen can run block. Offensive linemen prefer to run block because they're running down the field and attacking instead of coming back and playing defense. They're kind of on the offensive there. So that's what they like to play to. So they're always going to ask you to run the ball more. But, running game is going to be key. I love the offensive coordinator that we got. He was in Minnesota when Brett Favre was there. And that was one of my favorite teams of all time because I loved rooting for Brett Favre. I was happy to see he left Green Bay and eventually made his way to Minnesota. So that was my team, and they had Adrian Peterson. He was also up in Seattle, won Seattle the Super Bowl, and they had Marshawn Lynch, one of the best run games in the league in two different eras. So very, very much looking forward to watching this guy go to work. But let's talk about the final point and probably the most important, I don't know if you want to say important, but most important reason to winning the NFC North. So what I am looking forward to most of this Lions team in 2019 is their defense. This defense has a ton of potential, and I cannot wait to see what this is going to be. I expect them to be a 3-4 because that is what Patricia wanted to run in New England. And last season they kind of tried it, but they didn't really have the personnel for it. They really ran a 4-3 a lot, I don't know if that's what Patricia wants to do. I haven't heard anything about it. But regardless, the talent is there. I mean, so many guys up front from the linebacking core to the line can play so many different positions. So I guarantee you Trey Flower doesn't line up in the same the same spot twice on back-to-back plays. They're going to move him around. And you see like Houston do that with J.J. Watt. They move him on different sides of the line. A lot of people in the 3-4 switch it up. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. The secondary should be crazy, and I really anticipate this being a top 5 defense. I mean, the talent is there. You have a defensive-minded coach who I think the knock on it is going to be that he gives up a lot of yards. They're kind of the bend but don't break. And I think with people like Darius Slay, that you kind of have to force turnovers. That's really what we were good at under Jim Caldwell, was forcing turnovers. And I think that's kind of the strength of this team. I'm looking forward to a lot of tackle for losses and shutting down the run game. That should be a give me. And that's what we struggled at the last few seasons, is stopping the run. And I think that's going to change. Like I said, man, all these 5 steps play in with one another. Buying in defensively and listening to everything your coaches have to say, being a leader, going out there and playing with the chip on your shoulder. Because no one outside of DSA or anyone who does talk about the Lions on YouTube, outside of like big market radio stations like 97.1 or ESPN or FS1, no one's given this team a chance. It's all blown up, and it's kind of crazy. But I think this defense is going to prove them wrong, man. I'm going to talk about the media more in the end. So stick around for a second. But back to this defense. It's about time that this team has had a defensive identity. It is what has made Detroit sports. And I said this a few times. I'll probably say it a few more because it's true. It's damn true. The Pistons had the Bad Boys, one of the greatest defensive teams of all time. And then you have the going to work Pistons, who may have been even a better defensive team. So you have 2 of the greatest defensive teams through 2 different eras, almost 15, 20 years apart, of dominating defensively and shutting teams down. The Red Wings have always been a good defensive team, from goalies to poking the puck loose to starting fights. I mean, that Colorado Avalanche versus the Red Wings fight is probably the most famous fight of all time. Maybe besides the Malice at the Palace, but we're not talking about that because you can fight in hockey legally. But they hit hard and, play gritty. The Detroit Tigers always had gold glovers. I think of Ian Kinsler and Pudge and all those guys, and they've always had some good aces out there, from Verlander to all the rest of the guys out there. The bullpen of late has been suckish, but they have always had good pitching. It's about time that the Lions, get to that. And I feel like they missed their chance a few years ago when they had Sue and Cliff Averill and Vanderbosch and all those guys, throwing some throwbacks out there. I feel they missed the boat on that one because that team had a lot of potential. Eventually getting Ziggy, if he would have stayed healthy, who knows? I think Sue would have been gone regardless. But you had the right format. You were close before, and you let it slip away. Jim Schwartz, almost said Mark Sanchez. Don't quote me on that. But Schwartz went to Philly, won a Super Bowl there, so that should tell you something. Patricia should get this team going the way he wants to. I'm very much looking forward to it. But let's talk about a bonus clip here. So originally I wasn't going to talk about this, but I watched Micro Mike's video the other day, and he got really fired up, and it was really cool to watch. Go check him out if you haven't seen it. But he's absolutely 100% and 12% right. 112% right. There we go. This team's not getting any love outside of DSA. Absolutely none. It's kind of embarrassing. You have NFL analysts going out there and pretty much just giving them no shot to win the NFC North. And they might be a dark horse. I don't know if they're the favorite, but I think they improved the most. And I think, in the analyst defense that, Patricia's first year kind of put a blemish on it. But that's all right, because I love to be the underdogs and proving everybody wrong and being the guy saying, I told you so at the end of the year. Now, shout out to Good Morning Football. Those people, whoever run the network. I know it's Nate Burleson who really gave us the love, but Peter Schrager and all those guys, they give the Lions love all the time. So that is really the only show that I watch consistently. When something else big is going down, I might watch. I very rarely watch ESPN. I don't watch Colin Cowherd because that dude is a clown. I don't watch Undisputed anymore. It's all same stuff, repeat, watch it, and talk about it again. And the problem with, being a Detroit sports YouTuber is we might be a little bit biased, but this year is really different. This is probably the most talent we've had on both sides of the ball in a very long time. The future is very bright for this team. We're not overpaid. We're not hurting money-wise. We're going to have the fan base. It's not like we're struggling to bring in people. This year proved a lot to me. We went out there and got the guys that we talked about getting, like week 8 in the season when, we were kind of on the dark, like, oh man, if we just get Trey Flowers. We went out there and got everyone that we wanted to get. We went out there and got everyone that we wanted to draft it. It's weird. Very rarely does that happen for this team. This team is just on the right path. And I can't wait for this season to start. They should be 10-6, 11-5, right around that ballpark this year. 8-8 at the worst. 8-8 at the absolute worst. Unless something drastic happens injury-wise, I think 8-8 should be the worst. And 11-5 should be the ceiling. So it should be a fun season. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Do you agree with the 5 steps? If there's a step I missed out, be sure to comment down below. Like I said earlier, if you have not checked out the Lions Hype video, go ahead and check it out. Instagram, Twitter, in the description with all DSA members who talk Lions almost daily. So be sure to check all those guys out and subscribe to them. And that's all I got for you guys today. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you peeps in the next one. Peace.